welcome everybody to Cincinnati Bengals Weekly Show. We're week 2 on the Grueling Truth Radio Network. The best Cincinnati Bengals Weekly Show is brought to you by Replenishing Care Technologies, Gridiron Mo, and newly, mybookie.ag. I'm your host, Mike Goodpaster. Right now, I want to welcome in my co-host, former Bengal linebacker, number 58, Joe Kelly. How you doing, Joe?
Oh, Mike has been better days. It's been better weeks. Coming off probably one of the most disappointing games, not just because it was the opening of the season. It was just a total lackluster, lack of effort, horrible offensive coaching. And you have to point, and you know I'm a supporter of Marvin Lewis, but there's no way that you cannot blame the head coach for the offensive performance that they put out on the field on Sunday. It was, to me, it was just god awful. There's times in the NFL where you're going to get beat physically because this is the NFL. There are other teams going to make plays, but we were. It was horrible. Execution was horrible. The offensive line was horrendous. It led to Andy Dalton playing horrendously. There, I can't say anything bad about A.J. Green. I thought the running backs ran hard and made some good plays. But other than that, it was, we have Tyler Eifert. Was totally not utilized at all. It was bad. It was bad. It was bad, for the fans of Cincinnati to have to come out and witness an opening game like this.
Now, the thing that stands out to me is this. We know the offensive line's bad. The only person in the world that doesn't know Cedric the way he sucks is Paul Alexander and maybe Cedric's parents. But my problem is this. Even if your offensive line sucks, there's ways to call plays to get around it. And the thing that really annoyed me was the fact that you see almost no screens, which, I mean, they were coming balls out the whole time because they weren't worried about getting blocked. And the other thing is, Andy Dalton's a fairly good quarterback on the move. Why did they never roll him out?
I don't know. Yeah, I'm looking at it, and you could tell by the first drive. We made some plays here, but you could tell by the first drive, just the same as it's been throughout the preseason, that our offensive tackles we're going to have troubles. They're going to have problems, and once you got into the flow of the game, the pocket would collapse so quick. So as an offensive coordinator, I would think that, hey, you would say, okay, here, let's get some movement. Let's slow down Terrell Suggs. Let's slow down these outside guys. And like you said, let's start running some screens. Let's start running some quick hitches with the wide receivers. We have capable wide receivers. Let's do some draws. Let's get Andy out of the box. Let him get out of the box. Let's roll some bootlegs. Let's roll let's run some counter plays to get some movement. Because when you get some movement, you throw the defense off, and they have to adjust. And it just seemed like all we did, rather than them adjusting to us, we were trying to adjust to them, and we never did. They just pinned their ears back. Those defensive ends were getting pressure. They were getting pressure up the middle, and that nullified pretty much everything. But like I said, I think the offensive play calling it was just terrible because you didn't, when you look at it, you had an entire half. At halftime, you got 3 interceptions. Okay, let's make some changes. Let's see what they're doing. And Baltimore wasn't playing that well. So let's see. Let's look at it. Let's regroup. Let's see what we can do.
If Baltimore would have been playing well, we'd have got beat 40-0.
Oh, no doubt. If Flacco played an ounce worth of good football, we would have got beat easily 30-something to nothing.
Yeah, but the fact is, he hadn't played since last year, and he can still come in and beat the Bengals.
He still came up, and beat the Bengals. I think overall, I think our defense played well. We gave up the one big pass the 48-yard touchdown reception. I have no idea what the defensive coordinator was thinking about, playing a 1-free on 3rd down and 7. You run a defense where there is no help whatsoever deep. And then you have them running, playing a trail technique. Mike, so that means all I need is one of your guys.
I mean, they ran a scissors play, basically. And you can't cover it. I mean, you've got to have some help. It's 3rd and 7. I don't know why you're playing man anyways. And I don't know where the hell the safety went on top of that.
Yeah, well, you took him. You won 3, so you took him out. You brought him down in the coverage. I have no idea. That call right there made absolutely no sense to me. Had you have the safety right there, it would have been a perfect. You come in, you run the scissors play, come in. Darquez, he ran into the other DB, but you would have had your safety right there to make the tackle. If he makes an open field tackle, it's a gain of 5 yards. They punt. You take that play away, and then I just think the 3rd quarter, that drive, that lasted close to 10 minutes. It was killed by. I want to say we had maybe 3 penalties that drive. They kept that drive alive. But when you look at it, they had 270 yards, 280 total yards, which from a defensive coaching perspective, you go into the NFL and you want to your goal is maybe to give up 250 yards a game will lead. You'll be leading the NFL.
Well, I don't even think it's how many yards you give up, Joe. I think it's how many explosive big plays you give up.
Yeah,
that's why I thought the defense played fine. If you had told me going into this game that the defense gives up 20 points, I would have thought the Bengals would have won the game.
I said that that the score was going to. I think I said 24-17. I thought they would come out and score some points because we didn't have Pac-Man and we didn't have Perfect. But no way. Mike, you could have told me, anybody could have told me, with our weapons, even with the efficiency we have at the offensive tackles, that someone could shut our offense out with Iser, with A.J. Green, with Giovanni, with Jeremy Hill, with Mixon. There's no way you could have told me that you were going to shut us out, and that's exactly what happened. And
the other thing that bothers me is the fact you got 3 really good running backs. But at some point, don't you have to settle on one guy as your main dude?
You do. Because there are situations. Okay, if you're going to use multiple backs, that guy that's running 1st and 2nd down. If you ask any running back, running back it's a field, but you got to get a feel of the game, and you can't get a feel of the game if I'm in this series, then I'm not in for another 3 series, and then I come in for a play that I'm out. It's that you
get no rhythm.
No, you don't. I can see where you got a 1st and 2nd down running back, and then you bring in Giovanni. I think he's a better 3rd down back because of his receiving ability right now than the other 2 guys. Giovanni made some huge plays, but when you look at some of the plays they're running, the inside running plays they're running for Giovanni, I'm like, why? Is it with your personnel? Why are you having Giovanni come in and running those plays that are better suited for Jeremy or Mixon? But at the end of the day, they're going to have to make a decision and have someone that is going to be able to get a feel of the game. You look at all the good running teams. Look at Pittsburgh and see how they've always had 2 capable backs. But, they're going
the thing is this. With Giovanni, you got no John Ross. Why not put him in a slot?
Yeah, exactly. Utilizing.
And I think my biggest problem with Zampese's offense is this. There's no identity. I don't know if they're trying to be a run team or if they're trying to be a pass team.
Mike, I don't think he knows.
I know he doesn't know, or we would know.
It's confusing. I look at the score. We're down 20-0. It's 9 minutes to go in the game. Defense stops them again, gives us the ball back. It's 9 minutes to go, and you're running the ball.
Yeah.
So
I think they did it again when they got the ball back with 4 minutes left, and they burned it a couple timeouts to get it back, and they ran the ball.
Yes. So I'm saying, as a fan, because I'm sitting there as a fan, and trying to be objective, not as a ex-player. I'm looking at there, and I'm just saying, I'm looking at the half-empty seats, and I'm saying, okay, you quit. Well, hell, if you quit, you know what? Well, yeah, I have to ask me around me. You guys ready to go? I mean, obviously they quit. This is NFL. 9 minutes.
Well, hell, I think the fans have quit before the game started because you get the first season opener here in forever, and you got 10,000 empty seats.
10,000 empty seats.
And it was probably more than 10,000 empty seats.
Yeah. It didn't when I'm looking. And then, you look and say, this is the Baltimore. This is the Ravens. And the Ravens, they haven't been, the Super Bowl Ravens, but it's still the Ravens. And to see so many empty seats, it was disheartening. But it's reflective of the product the Bengals are putting in the field. You have all the talent in the world, but you know what? When I look at it, and when you sit back and reanalyze this, what happened. I blame it. I blame it on the way. I blame it on the NFL. I blame it on Marvin not having these guys ready. The physicality. They weren't physical enough. They weren't in shape. You look at these guys and how the NFL, the starters. I think Andy might have played 2 quarters the entire preseason. And then here, opening game, you're saying here, go in there and let's start where we left off last year. You can't. You have to put in work. I don't care who you are. I don't care how good you are. I played with some Hall of Fame guys. Reggie White had to work. Reggie White had to be in shape. Reggie White was in the gym. Reggie White was running gassers. He had to be in ready to compete for 4 quarters. Those guys, especially on the offensive side of the ball, they were not ready. Andy looked as though this was the first day of training camp. There was, besides A.J. Green, the wide receivers could not get off the line of scrimmage. They could not get any separation. They were not fluid in their routes. So a lot of times when Andy was right, there was nowhere to go with the ball because the wide receivers were not creating any space between them and the defensive backs.
I think what all that comes down to, Joe, is this. Number one, Baltimore everybody's playing by the same rules the NFL gives them. Baltimore was ready to play. They were physical. They hit. The Bengals were unprepared. And, I don't know how you can be unprepared for a season opener.
Yeah, they were. I'm telling you, I'm looking at it. Defensively, because we look at it, even though we have to look at this because it's a team. So overall, it's a team that they weren't ready. But defensively, there were some really good things that the defense was doing. Even though it was Baltimore, it's Joe Flacco's first time in playing in forever. But when you look at what they did, a lot of things they did. You had the long drive. They gave up the one pass. In this league, you can win with that. You can win. You should be able to win. You should be able to win in the league when you have the offensive skill players that we have. But that being said, this could be, Mike, pretty indicative, man, of our season. Because honestly, Mike, those tackles are not going to get any better.
No.
There's guys who can get better because they are NFL quality type guys. I've seen plenty guys. I've been on teams with guys who, we all say, hey, look like Tarzan, plays like Jane.
I like Jane. Yep.
And that's what our offensive tackles. They physical. If you look at the physical specimen, what they have, as far as how they measure, yes. But when you look at a football player, no. I'm sorry. It is what it is.
The thing that stood out to me with Ogbuehi was on the one interception, the batted ball ends up being a touchdown. Ogbuehi, when you watch the replay, I mean, as an offensive lineman, if Terrell Suggs is going to jump, you punch him in the chest. But the thing was, he put his arms around him. He was hugging him while Suggs was batting the ball into the air.
Yeah. You're seeing that their defensive coaches, they were getting pressure. They were getting pressure. The defensive ends were collapsing the pocket. They were telling those guys, here, get a push. So if I'm able to push you 2 yards deep, and they're trying, and the offense is trying to change up and do their 3-step drops, now I'm going to tell my guys here, get a push, and raise your hands. That's why you had so many the balls knocked down, because they were reading. Andy was telegraphing his passes, but it was because they were getting such good push against the offensive line in the middle.
Yeah, they'd get them off balance, and then you can't do anything to keep them from getting their hands up.
Yeah, so it was their defensive coaches. I give hats off to their guys, because they were seeing what I guess what Zampese was trying to do. So I was telling some of my guys here, don't try to rush the passer, get you a push and put your hands up. And I played in many games where the defense coach said, well, hey, we got our defensive ends, and our defensive ends can beat those tackles one-on-one all day. So your inside guys want you to get a push, and then get you 2 steps and raise your hands. And we had 5, 6 batted passes. There was I don't know the number, but there was more batted passes Sunday than I can recall almost all season. So it was you gotta give credit to Baltimore for coming, their guys coming ready to play. Our guys offensively, it looked like the first or second day of training camp. I couldn't put it any better. That's what I seen. There were guys. I think our running backs showed that they can make plays. But we're going to have to make a decision. Who's going to be hot? Are you going to go with those guys? I can see. I was looking at their demeanor, and right now, first game, they were cheering each other. They were giving each other a high five. But I know, as a competitor, if I'm in there and I'm making some good reads, I'm making the plays, then you take me out, and I sit for this series, and then Giovanni's in the next series, and I'm in the third series. It's going to affect one of their psyche. I don't care who you are. You're as a competitor, you're going to want to be in the game. It's going to throw you off. You're not going to get because as a running back, you're working with the offensive line, working with the quarterback. Here, so one guy makes a pass pickup better than the other guy. So there's so much going on, and it's hard if you're consistently inconsistent. You don't know who's getting in. I think toward the third quarter, he was playing Giovanni more. But then one of those guys, they would come in, they would make a big play, and then he would take them out. So it's tough. I think the Bengals offensively.
It'll especially be hard if they don't start winning, because when you're losing, that stuff gets magnified.
Oh yeah, definitely.
All right, let's go ahead and we'll look at the next game, which is tomorrow night against the Houston Texans. Luckily for the Bengals, the Texans look just as bad, if not worse, than the Bengals did last Sunday.
Right. Yes,
I mean, the thing that scares me is that defensive line's pretty legit with Clowney, J.J. Watt going up against like Wahe and Jake Fisher. That worries me. But the thing that does give me some hope is this. Last week, the Texans allowed rookie running back Leonard Fournette to run for 155 yards on the ground and a touchdown. And if the Bengals would just come out and decide to be a running team, I think they could win this game.
Mm-hmm.
Now, will they? I don't know. Because who the hell knows what they're going to do?
Yeah. You look at what Jacksonville was able to do against the Texans at home with all the momentum, the emotion of Hurricane Harvey. You had all that. You had all that backing you, and you came out and you laid as big of an egg, or if not a bigger egg, than the Bengals laid for their opening year. They gave up 10 sacks, but I think defensively, I think they got 5 sacks. So, like you said, that is a concern because our offensive line is our weak spot. I think what we're going to have going for us is that I think they're going to start Deshaun Watson, I believe. Got a rookie quarterback.
Yeah, that's what they're saying.
So you have a rookie quarterback coming in. His first game starting Thursday night. Our record on night games. But when you look at, we have Pac-Man back. Burfict is still out. I just think that these guys, there's no way from man to man, player to player, teammate to teammate, that you are not going to come out Thursday with piss and vinegar, as you should be so angry at what you put out on the field.
But Joe, how sure are you that they're going to come out that way?
I only can speak from my perspective, Mike, and I've never been in a locker room where you played that bad on a team. I'm saying not bad because I played on some bad teams, but I'm saying we're playing on decent teams and good teams that will play off quality teams, and you go and you just take a whooping like you took, and you came out and you just laid an egg. Every team that I've ever played on that was a decent team, you came back because you were going to redeem what you did the week before. And you would think that it would be like that, but I think there's some added incentive to come out and just make up for what they did Sunday. And then the fact there's no way you can lose 2 games, home games, back-to-back. And then you're talking about losing to the Houston Texans, who looked pretty awful.
Yeah, and I think we got to go to Green Bay next week, right?
Well, Mike, this is the NFL, man. Doesn't get easier.
My point is this, though. I think I know this is early, but I think this team's season's on the line here, because I really think this team is teetering on the spot where, from the end of that Pittsburgh playoff game through last year and everything that's happened, I'm just worried that this team is thrown in the towel before it's even started.
Well, you look at that, and like you said, there could start being field points, and when you're looking at how because it could go and say, oh, maybe we aren't that bad.
Because if you're a defensive player or an offensive player and you're in film and you're watching the offensive line get destroyed like that, but they're still starting, I mean, that's got to be demoralizing.
It does.
And, I mean, if you watch Cedric Ogbuehi, he's supposed to do all this stuff at the Glazier, whatever it is, and everything, the offensive line thing. If you watched him, he's still just as bad as he was last year.
Yeah, I didn't see any improvement on his footwork.
If you're going to turn him into anything, maybe it's a power forward in an NBA or something. I don't know, but he's not going to play offensive line the way he plays it.
You have guys. My thing is, you're not playing hard enough for me to argue to keep you in the starting lineup. Because, like you said, when you look at when he gets beat, when Andy's getting sacked, when the guy is knocking the ball down, it's like I have not ever seen a guy that plays with that is so lackadaisical, that plays with no emotion. And I'm saying every player, you have to be on a high emotional, roller coaster to be able to compete in the NFL. But you have to, at some point in time, get pissed because this guy in front of you is kicking your ass 60 out of 70 plays. Now, I'm 65 out of 70 plays. It's at some point, the coach should be able to see, well, you know what, let me give, Westerman, let me give me Andre Smith. As bad as I thought about Andre Smith before he went to Minnesota. I never, ever seen Andre Smith play as bad as this guy is playing. And it's tough. It's too bad to say that. I don't want to, you hate to rain on anybody, NFL dream. But
I got you, Joe. I understand what you're saying.
It is what it is, man. It is what it is. I've seen good players who should have not been cut from this league cut. I've seen guys who should not be in this league are in this league. And
the same thing happens with coaches, Joe.
Oh, yes.
I mean, come on. Ken Zampese's there because his dad was Ernie Zampese. He was friends with the Brown family, and they hired him a long time ago. He's a really good quarterbacks coach, but he's not a coordinator. He wasn't a coordinator. I mean, if he was that good of a coordinator, the times they were hiring Hugh Jackson and Jay Gruden, don't you think at some point somebody said, hey, why don't we just hire a quarterbacks coach? It's the nepotism football league. It almost always has been. And if you look, I wrote an article about this like a year ago, but I think it was since like 1975, 33% of all coaches that have been hired have hired their sons to be assistants, and those sons had no experience.
Yeah.
It's a joke. I mean, the coaches, because I wrote an article about the woman that, they were making a big deal because she was a lesbian and she was going to coach with the 49ers. And I was going to trash that until I started doing some research. And I saw that almost all of these people got their jobs because they just happened to know somebody.
Yeah. I say that because you and I talked before. I recall when I got traded to the New York Jets, and all that staff, the entire staff, went to the University of Pacific together. There was maybe one or two people on the staff that on the coaching staff that didn't go to the University of Pacific together, but they hired their buddies. They were not qualified. You look at one of them being Pete Carroll, Super Bowl coach now. I'm telling you, Pete Carroll in 1990 was a horrible coach. He was terrible. He
proved that when he tried to be the Jets coach a few years later.
Yeah, he was terrible. But then at the end of the day, you look at Monty Kiffin. Monty Kiffin wasn't even any better in 1990. But
you know what? Outside of the cover 2 in Tampa Bay for a few years, what the hell's Monty Kiffin done?
Yeah, but they went down there to Tampa 2, won Tampa.
He also had Derek Brooks, Warren Sapp, John Lynch. I mean.
Oh yeah.
You can run any defense you want if you got that much talent.
Oh yeah, definitely. But I played with the linebacker coach, the Green Bay Packers. My 10th year, Coach Lynn was BYU's quarterback coach, and here's this guy is coaching linebackers in the NFL. And, it's my 10th year, so I'm saying, what the hell? But, of course, it was a lot worse than what the hell, but this was my coach. So, it's like you said, there's nepotism, there's cronyism, there's, whatever you want to call it. There are people, just like there are in the regular world, there are people in companies who, family.
Oh, most definitely.
Yeah,
But you look at a guy like Jeff Fisher. He hired his son Brandon to be the DB's coach. When Jeff Fisher got fired, nobody gave Brandon a job.
Exactly. It
Until Jeff makes a few calls next year, and he'll be with the team.
Yeah. So I don't know. There's definitely the Bengals offense has an identity issue right now, and they need to solve it. And Mike, they need to solve it tomorrow night.
I think the team overall has an identity issue. I just don't think they're that tough, Joe. I mean, I watched offensive and defensive players, and this may just be because I'm old, but there's no way in hell, Joe, back in the 70s and 80s, I'm helping somebody up after I knock them down.
Oh, well, you know how I feel about that, Mike. I'm not helping you up ever.
No. I went to all the effort to knock you down. Why the hell am I going to help you get up?
My goal is to keep you on the ground. I don't want you to get up. But like I said, our defense, their identity, it's a total different identity without 55, without Burfict.
Well, I think it's an entirely different identity ever since Mike Zimmer left.
That's true. You know, we
but yeah,
lost
Perfect would help that a lot. I think Pac-Man Jones will help it. I know we both, bitched about him doing stupid stuff, but they need somebody with some attitude on the team at some point.
Yeah. And Pac-Man is going to come back, and the when you look at it, Pac-Man still, in my opinion, is still the best cornerback that they have. I don't
know. I think Denard's starting to actually turn out to be a pretty decent player.
I don't deny it, Mike.
He looked pretty good last week, and he was better last year. He's better than Drake Kirkpatrick, I think.
You think so? I don't know.
Well, Dre's always hurt. He's in a walking boot now and can't play.
Who, Kirkpatrick is?
Yeah, Kirkpatrick.
I didn't see that.
Just read it that Pac-Man will be taking his spot this week.
Oh, wow. Yeah, well,
my only question with Pac-Man is he as good as he once was because of the age? He didn't look as good last year, but I still think people minimize too much the effect losing Reggie Nelson had on the defensive secondary.
Oh yeah. That was huge. That was both you and I seen it. Where we talked about it all last year. We talked about it, and it was showing. It was indicative of their play throughout the entire season.
Yeah, like the scissors pass they gave the touchdown up on last week. I'm pretty sure if that's Reggie Nelson instead of George Iloka, Nelson actually switches off on that.
Oh yeah. You make that call. You make a call because that's something that you anticipate. You anticipate. When you have a veteran like Reggie Nelson, you're going to anticipate those routes. And with those routes, because you know that you're it's a cover one free. You have no help. Nobody has any help. That just blows my mind that you're running on a 3rd and 7. It's a 3rd and 7. We're still in the game. It's 3rd and 7, and you run that coverage. I don't understand why you would make that something that you're. This is a balls out, all out blitz. We need to stop.
And almost bet you anything with a veteran like Joe Flacco, that wasn't the play that was called until he saw that coverage.
I guarantee you. Yeah, I guarantee you he audible to it because you've seen that there's no help. And these guys they're running. They're all bump and run. So Mike, all you have to do is run scissor patterns. Crosses to do that because those guys are they're none of them had. When you have guys, you're running bump coverage, you're talking, you're communicating, the nickelback, the cornerback are communicating, and you're going to be on different levels. You're going to be on different levels so in order to avoid running into each other. So we're both not going to be bump and run, and we're going to, be up in their face.
But they both were, and the other thing that bothered me was they were damn near pretty much right across from each other.
Yes. And how don't you know that, and how don't you stagger that, and how don't you change the depth? You can do, bump and run. I'm going to come off 2 yards, 3 yards.
Well, see, to me, that's something they allowed in practice, though, which is why they didn't.
Yeah, well, evidently, apparently, they were not ready. Because I'm sure that was not the first time that Baltimore came out in that formation. When you're looking at third and long, I'm sure the Bengals would have had to have gone over that multiple times throughout the week. You have, your last practice, third and long. You're running every play that they can imagine that they run. You're going to run their bread and butter. There's only going to be 4 or 5 plays that they're going to run in those situations, and you practice them all, and you practice them over and over and over again. You look at the film over and over, so you know what their tendencies are on third and short, third and medium, third and long. This is what you do all week. They didn't. They weren't prepared, and as a result. It was an awful showing last Sunday.
All right, so I guess we got to predict this. I'm going to go first this week so I can be wrong first before you. I think this is a team the Bengals should beat, even how bad they look, because the Texans' offensive line, Geno Atkins and Carlos Dunlap should have huge days against them. And like I said before, they're not very good against the run. They gave up, 130, 140 yards to a rookie last week. I think the Bengals will be able to run the ball. I think the Bengals win the game 20-17. What do you think, Joe?
I look at it, and I see the issues we have, but still, offensively, the talent that we have, Pac-Man is coming back, so he's going to help that I think we're going to be able to put pressure on them. It's a rookie quarterback coming in there. I don't think they have any kind of an established run game. I think their passing game is going to have issues because you're going to have the rookie quarterback in there. So I think our guy, I think Andy's going to redeem himself. I think our tackles, offensive tackles, are going to play just as bad, or if not worse, because I think overall, Houston's D-line is better than Baltimore's. You take out Terrell Suggs, I think they're a lot better than Baltimore, and you've seen what Baltimore's defensive line did to us. But that being said, I cannot see us coming out and performing the same way. So I'm more looking at a game 24-10.
Well, I'm just hoping Zampese realizes when he watches the film that Leonard Fournette ran all over him. So I thought in college Joe Mixon was better than Leonard Fournette. So
yeah, I agree.
For what it's worth, I think he's a better all-around back. Any final thoughts, Joe?
Well, Mike, it's tough. Hopefully, the offense can get back on track. I think defensively, if we play just like we played last week, we shore up those third down coverages. We cut down on some of those penalties that we had to keep that one drive going in the third quarter. Offensively, I think that right now he's still going to utilize those three running backs because he has no idea. I don't even think he notices the different strengths of each player. And like I said, he's still just going out and hopefully our guys can just make plays because I still think Zampese is trying to figure it out. But hopefully, these guys can make plays. I don't know if Ross is coming back. I think he's going to be able to add a dimension because of his speed and start getting some separation between our wide receivers and the defensive backs. And, we go out, we win convincingly, we win big. Football people will begin to come back and, they can go into this Green Bay game with some confidence and go in and hopefully, get a little momentum. And you never know. You go out and you play well. This is the NFL. I think on any given Sunday, anybody can be beat. And talent-wise, I think this team has the talent. But talent, it is what it is. Talent is nothing but a word. You have to go out and compete on every Sunday with some fire, with some pitch and vinegar. And I think if they do that, this season can be salvaged.
Yeah, and remember this. One of the few teams Aaron Rodgers has never beaten is the Bengals.
Well, hopefully, Mike, we can keep that going. But I'm just talking about tomorrow night, and hopefully tomorrow night they can get this bad taste I have in my mouth. Hopefully they can get that out.
Yeah, most definitely, because it definitely was a bad taste. I mean, my boys always watched the game with me, and they both gave up middle of the first quarter. They said it looked like they didn't care, and it was correct. They didn't. At least it didn't look like they did. So I think tomorrow night will show us exactly what this team is made of and whether it's going to be a long year or a good year. I want to remind everybody to catch us every week on the Bengals Weekly Show with myself and Joe Kelly. Also, catch the NFL Pick'em Show once a week. We did the show last night. It's on the grillingtruth.net right now. You can catch it out or check it out there. You can listen to all of our podcasts on iHeartRadio, Google Music, iTunes. Anywhere you find sports podcast, you'll find The Grueling Truth. So for Joe Kelly, this is Mike Goodpaster. You've been listening to The Grueling Truth, where the legends speak.